You are standing in the cold grey dawn of Paris. October 16th, 1793. The city is not awake, not really, just shivering, waiting, holding its breath. The stones beneath your feet are slick with last night's rain, and the air tastes of iron and old smoke. Somewhere a bell tolls, but it's not a call to prayer. It's a warning, a countdown. You're not alone. The crowd is already gathering, a sea of faces, some hungry, some hollow, some burning with a hatred that's almost holy. You can feel their eyes on you, but you're not the one they want. All attention is fixed on the heavy wooden doors of the conciergerie, the ancient prison that has become the final stop for kings and queens. You know what's coming, but you can't look away. Before we open those doors, before we step into the last hours of a queen, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more true stories that history tried to bury, and tell me in the comments, what time is it, and where in the world are you watching from? I want to know who's brave enough to walk these haunted streets with me tonight. Now, listen. The doors groan open. The guards emerge, faces blank, uniforms stained, and behind them, a woman, her hair shorn, her hands bound, her dress a tattered ghost of silk. Marie Antoinette, once the most envied woman in Europe, now just another prisoner, her skin pale as candle wax, her eyes ringed with sleepless blue. She does not weep, she does not beg. She walks as if every step is a final act of defiance, her back straight, her chin lifted, her gaze fixed on something only she can see. The mob surges, spitting curses, hurling rotten fruit, but she does not flinch. You see her lips move, maybe a prayer, maybe a memory. The cart is waiting, its wheels caked with mud and blood. She climbs in, and the guards lash her wrists to the wood. The crowd presses closer, hungry for a spectacle, for vengeance, for the end of a world they were never allowed to join. As the cart lurches forward, you follow. The city blurs past shuttered windows, broken statues, the ghosts of 1,000 lost dreams. You wonder what she's thinking. Is she remembering Versailles, the laughter of her children, the taste of sugared violets, or is she already gone, her mind somewhere the mob can't reach? But the real horror is still ahead, because what waits at the end of this road is not just death, but a ritual, a public unmaking, a final humiliation, a lesson written in blood, and bone dots still watching. Comment royal madness below if you're ready to see what happens when a crown becomes a curse, and a queen becomes a warning. Before the blade, before the mob, before the name Marie Antoinette became a curse whispered in the streets, there was a world built on gold, secrets, and rot. To understand how a queen could be dragged through the streets and executed, you have to start at the beginning, at the heart of a royal family that believed itself untouchable, even as the ground crumbled beneath their feet. The year is 1755. Europe is a chessboard of empires, and Vienna is its most glittering square. The Habsburg dynasty, rulers of Austria, Hungary, Bohemia, and more, have survived centuries of war, plague, and betrayal by clinging to one rule: keep the bloodline pure, and the throne will endure. But purity, in the Habsburg sense, is a double sword. Cousins marry cousins, uncles marry nieces, the family tree is a circle, and the roots are tangled with secrets. Into this world is born Maria Antonia Josepha Johanna 15th, child of Empress Maria Theresa and Emperor Francis I. She is not the heir, not the favorite, not even the prettiest, but she is a Habsburg, and that means her life is not her own. From the moment she draws breath, her future is mapped out in treaties and dowries, her worth measured in alliances and heirs. The palace where she grows up is a paradox: gilded ceilings, endless gardens, and 1,000 eyes watching every move. Her mother, Maria Theresa, is a force of nature, brilliant, ruthless, and determined to use her children as pawns in the game of European power. She writes letters in the dead of night, arranging marriages, plotting wars, and reminding her daughters that their bodies are bargaining chips. You were born to obey, she tells them. You were born to serve. But the Habsburgs are not just powerful, they are haunted. The family is plagued by rumors of madness, deformity, and a curse that stretches back generations. Some say it began with the Spanish branch, where inbreeding produced kings who could barely speak or walk. Others whisper of suicides, secret illnesses, and children locked away in distant castles. The portraits in the palace halls show proud faces, but look closer and you see the signs: the Habsburg jaw, the heavy eyelids, the sadness that never quite leaves the eyes. Maria Antonia's childhood is shaped by this legacy. She is taught to pray, to dance, to smile on command. She learns French, Italian, and the art of hiding her true feelings. But she is also taught to fear failure, fear scandal, fear the wrath of a mother who loves her children but loves power more. The court is a place of masks, and Maria Antonia becomes an expert at wearing hers. Outside the palace, the world is changing, the Enlightenment is spreading, and with it, dangerous ideas, liberty, equality, the rights of man. In France, the Bourbon dynasty is rotting from within, its king weak, its court decadent, its people hungry. The streets of Paris are filled with beggars and philosophers, and the air is thick with the scent of revolution. It is into this world that Maria Antonia is thrust at the age of 14, when she is chosen to marry the Dauphin of France, the awkward, indecisive grandson of Louis XV. The marriage is a political masterstroke. Austria and France, ancient enemies, united by a teenage girl who barely speaks the language of her new home. She is stripped of her Austrian clothes, her Austrian name, even her beloved dog. She becomes Marie Antoinette, Dauphine of France, and the hopes of two empires rest on her narrow shoulders. But the curse follows her. The French court is a viper's nest, and Marie is an outsider from the start. The king's mistresses sneer at her. The courtiers mock her accent, her manners, her innocence. The people of Paris, already suspicious of their Austrian queen, watch her every move, waiting for her to stumble. And stumble she does. The pressure to produce an heir is relentless, and every failure is a public humiliation. The rumors begin. She is frigid, she is barren, she is cursed. The whispers grow louder, feeding on centuries of Habsburg secrets and Bourbon scandals. The palace walls close in, and Marie Antoinette learns that in Versailles, nothing is private, and nothing is forgiven. But what she doesn't know, what no one knows, is that the real nightmare is still ahead. The world outside the palace is changing faster than anyone can imagine, and the revolution that will one day drag her through the streets is already gathering in the shadows. Centuries later, historians still argue, was she a victim, a villain, or just a girl born into the wrong story? But in 1755, as the bells of Vienna ring out for her birth, none of that matters. All that matters is the blood in her veins, the crown on her head, and the curse that is waiting for her, patient and hungry, just beyond the gates. You are 8 years old, and the palace is a maze of mirrors. Every corridor reflects your face, too pale, too thin, too eager to please. You are Maria Antonia, daughter of an empress, but you are never alone. There are always eyes, governesses, tutors, priests, and, most of all, your mother. She is everywhere, her voice in your ear, her letters on your pillow, her expectations pressing down like a velvet shroud. You learn early that love is conditional. Your mother, Maria Theresa, is a force of nature. Her affection is a reward, her disappointment a storm. She inspects your posture, your handwriting, your prayers. She corrects your French, your curtsy, your smile. You must be perfect, she says, because the world will never forgive your flaws. You believe her, you try, but the palace is cold, and the lessons are endless. You are taught to sing, to dance, to recite Latin and Greek, but your mind drifts. You stare out the window at the gardens, longing for the freedom of the birds. Your tutors complain that you are slow, distracted, too dreamy for a princess. You are left-handed, and they force you to write with your right. When you stumble, you are scolded. When you cry, you are told to be silent. There are rumors, even then, that the Habsburg blood is tainted. You hear whispers about your cousins in Spain: madness, deformity, children who never speak. You see the portraits in the gallery, the heavy jaws, the sad eyes, the mouths that never quite smile. You wonder if you will grow up to look like them. You wonder if you already do. Your siblings are your only refuge, but even that comfort is fleeting. The palace is a place of competition, not camaraderie. Your older sisters are married off one by one, sent to foreign courts as bargaining chips. You watch them go, their faces pale with fear, their eyes shining with unshed tears. You know your turn will come. Sometimes, at night, you hear your mother's footsteps in the hall. She visits your room, sits on your bed, and tells you stories of queens and empresses, of duty and sacrifice. She strokes your hair and whispers, "You must be strong, my little one. The world is cruel to girls like us." You nod, but inside you are afraid. You do not feel strong. You feel small and lost and terribly alone. The court is full of dangers you do not understand. There are men who stare too long, women who smile too sharply. You learn to keep secrets, to hide your feelings, to trust no one. You see your father, the emperor, only rarely. He is kind but distant, a shadow in the background of your life. You cling to your music, your pets, your dreams of escape. But the real trauma is not in the lessons or the loneliness. It is in the knowledge that you are never enough. No matter how hard you try, you cannot please your mother, cannot outshine your sisters, cannot silence the whispers about your family's curse. You begin to believe that something is wrong with you, that you are broken in ways no one can fix. When the time comes to leave Vienna, you are 14 and terrified. You are stripped of your Austrian clothes, your childhood treasures, even your name. You are Marie Antoinette now, and the world expects you to be a queen. But inside, you are still the little girl in the maze of mirrors, searching for a way out. And as the carriage rolls toward France, you wonder if anyone will ever see the real you, or if you will spend your life hiding behind a mask, waiting for the world to forgive what you cannot change. But what you don't know is that the palace you are leaving is nothing compared to the one you are about to enter. Versailles is a stage, and you are about to become its most tragic star. You are 15, and the world is watching. The carriage that brought you from Vienna to Versailles is gone, and in its place is a palace of gold and glass, 1,000 eyes, and a husband you barely know. You are Marie Antoinette, Dauphine of France, and your wedding is not a celebration, it is a transaction. The king's ministers count the dowry, the courtiers count your mistakes, and the people of Paris count the days until you give them an heir. Your new husband, Louis Auguste, is a boy in a man's body, awkward, shy, and terrified of you. He blushes when you speak, stammers when you touch his hand, and spends his nights locked away with his clocks and hunting rifles. The marriage bed is cold, the sheets untouched. The court whispers. The queen is frigid, they say. The doctor is impotent. The rumors grow, feeding on your silence and his shame. You try to be a wife. You try to be a friend. You laugh at his jokes, praise his awkward gifts, and wait for him to come to you. But the palace is a labyrinth of etiquette and cruelty. Every gesture is scrutinized, every word repeated, every glance dissected for hidden meaning. You are surrounded by rivals, Madame du Barry, the king's mistress, who mocks your innocence, the king's aunts, who resent your youth, the courtiers, who resent your foreign blood. You are alone, and the loneliness is a hunger that gnaws at your bones. You find solace in the small rebellions. You cut your hair short, ride horses astride, and dance until dawn in the Petit Trianon, your private escape from the suffocating rituals of court. You gamble, you flirt, you spend money you do not have. You surround yourself with a circle of favorites, princesses, musicians, actors who make you feel alive, if only for a moment. The court calls you extravagant, reckless, a bad influence. You do not care. For the first time in your life, you are free. But freedom is an illusion. The pressure to produce an heir is relentless. The king's doctors examine you, question you, blame you. Your mother writes letter after letter, demanding to know why you have not fulfilled your duty. You must try harder, she says. You must not fail. You try, you pray, you wait. But the marriage bed remains empty, and the whispers grow louder. The loneliness twists into something darker. You begin to crave attention, to seek out the gaze of men who are not your husband. There are rumors Count Axel von Fersen, the handsome Swedish nobleman, who looks at you with longing. The Duke of Dorset, who writes you secret notes. The Comte d'Artois, your own brother-in-law, whose laughter is a little too intimate. You do not act on these desires, not at first. But the thrill of being wanted, of being seen, is intoxicating. Court is a theater, and you are its most watched actress. You learn to play the part, smiling when you want to scream, laughing when you want to cry. You wear the most extravagant gowns, the tallest wigs, the brightest jewels. You become a fashion icon, a trendsetter, a symbol of everything the people of France both envy and despise. They call you Madame Deficit, blaming you for the kingdom's debts, the empty granaries, the hunger in the streets. You are a scapegoat, a lightning rod, a queen in name only. But the real obsession is not with men, or with pleasure, or even with power. It is with escape. You build a fantasy village at the Petit Trianon, a make-believe world where you can pretend to be a simple shepherdess, free from the burdens of the crown. You milk cows, bake bread, and play at happiness. But even here, the eyes of the court follow you. Even here, the rumors find you. Your marriage, such as it is, becomes a performance. You and Louis are partners in public, strangers in private. When at last, after 7 long years, you produce an heir son, a doff in the court erupts in celebration. But the joy is short-lived. The king is distant, the people are restless, and you are more alone than ever. You begin to sense that something is wrong not just with your marriage, but with the world around you. The palace is full of secrets, the city full of anger. The revolution is coming, and you can feel it in the way the servants look at you, in the way the crowds gather outside the gates, in the way your own heart beats faster at night. But what you do not know is that the real danger is not outside the palace walls. It is inside, growing in the shadows, feeding on your fears, waiting for the moment when love turns to obsession, and obsession turns to ruin. And when that moment comes, there will be no escape, not for you, not for your husband, not for the kingdom you were never meant to rule. You are 23, and the palace is no longer a stage, it is a trap. The long-awaited heir has finally arrived, but the price is written in blood and sleepless nights. The birth of your son Louis Joseph is supposed to be your redemption. The bells of Paris ring, the court bows, and for a moment you are the mother of France, the hope of a dynasty. But hope is a fragile thing, and in Versailles it shatters easily. The marriage bed, once cold, is now a battlefield. The king, Louis XVI, is changed by fatherhood, more distant, more anxious, more lost. He spends his nights in the forge, his days in the council chamber, and his heart is never with you. The intimacy that was supposed to save your marriage has only exposed the cracks. You lie awake, listening to the wind rattle the windows, wondering if you will ever feel safe again. The nursery is a place of both joy and terror. Your son is beautiful, but frail. The doctors whisper about his cough, his fever, the way his tiny hands tremble. You watch over him night after night, praying for a miracle, bargaining with a God who seems deaf to your pleas. The court watches, too, waiting for you to fail. Every sneeze, every cry, every sleepless night is a headline, a rumor, a reason to doubt your worth. Your body betrays you. The pregnancies come and go, some ending in blood, some in silence. You miscarry in secret, the pain hidden behind closed doors and forced smiles. The doctors prescribe laudanum for your nerves, but it only dulls the edges of your grief. You are haunted by the faces of the children you never held, the futures you never gave them. The palace is full of ghosts, and you are their queen. The king grows colder. He cannot comfort you, cannot comfort himself. He retreats into routine, into ritual, into the safety of numbers and locks. You try to reach him, but he is a fortress, and you are a storm battering the walls. The distance between you grows, measured in empty words and unshared tears. The court is merciless. The rumors multiply, affairs, poisonings, secret lovers, bastard children. You are accused of everything and nothing, your every move dissected by pamphleteers and gossips. The people of Paris, hungry and angry, blame you for their suffering. Let them eat cake, they say you said, though you never did. The lie is more powerful than the truth. You seek solace in your friends, but even that comfort is poisoned. The Duchess de Polignac, your closest confidant, is accused of corrupting you, of leading you into decadence and ruin. The circle of trust grows smaller. The walls close in. You begin to doubt everyone, even yourself. The palace is sick. The air is heavy with fear and suspicion. The king's ministers plot and scheme. The courtiers whisper in the shadows, and the servants watch with hungry eyes. You feel the weight of 1,000 years of monarchy pressing down on your chest, suffocating you. You wonder if you are going mad. The real horror comes in the night. Your son's cough grows worse. The doctors are helpless. You sit by his bed, holding his hand, watching the life drain from his eyes. He dies in your arms, and something inside you breaks. The court mourns, the people sneer, and you are left alone with your grief. The king does not weep. He cannot. He is already lost, already gone. You bury your son, and with him, the last hope of saving your marriage, your family, your crown. The palace is silent, the mirrors covered, the laughter gone. You turn to prayer, to ritual, to anything that will numb the pain. The laudanum becomes a crutch, the music a distraction, the endless ceremonies a mask you cannot remove. You are a queen in mourning, a mother without a child, a wife without a husband. But the real tragedy is not the death of your son, or the collapse of your marriage. It is the knowledge that you are powerless, that no matter how hard you try, you cannot change the course of history. The revolution is coming, and you can feel it in the way the ground trembles beneath your feet, in the way the people look at you with hunger and hate. You are Marie Antoinette, and you are trapped in a nightmare of your own making. The palace is a tomb, and you are its most precious relic. But what you do not know is that the worst is still to come. The walls will close in, the knives will come out, and the world will watch as you are dragged from your throne to the scaffold. You are Marie Antoinette, and the walls are closing in. Versailles, once a palace of light, is now a labyrinth of shadows and whispers. Every corridor echoes with footsteps that are not your own. Every mirror reflects not just your face, but the faces of those who watch you: servants, guards, ministers, spies. You are never alone, not even in your dreams. The king is distant, lost in his own rituals of avoidance. The court is a battlefield, alliances shifting like sand, every gesture a potential betrayal. You feel the eyes of Paris pressing in from beyond the gilded gates, hungry for scandal, for weakness, for blood. The revolution is no longer a rumor. It is a presence, a pulse beneath the marble floors. You try to maintain control. You cling to routine morning prayers, afternoon rides, evening music. You write letters to your mother, to your brother, to anyone who might still care. But the answers are slow, the advice useless. Be strong. They say, be careful. But how do you defend yourself against a world that wants you to fail? The surveillance is relentless. Your rooms are searched, your letters intercepted, your conversations reported. The king's ministers install secret listeners behind the walls. The queen's ladies-in-waiting are bribed, threatened, turned into informants. You begin to suspect everyone. You trust no one. Even your own children are watched, their tutors chosen by men who do not answer to you. You become obsessed with secrecy. You develop codes for your letters, invent signals for your friends. You meet in hidden rooms, speak in whispers, plan escapes that never come to pass. The palace is full of locked doors, and you hold the keys, but none of them open the way out. The pressure twists your mind. You begin to see threats where there are none, enemies in every shadow. You order the servants to move the furniture, to change the locks, to burn the linens after every use. You demand new guards, new doctors, new priests. The king indulges you, but only because it keeps you occupied, keeps you from asking questions. He cannot answer. The rumors grow darker. They say you are mad, possessed, a witch. They say you hold orgies in the Petit Trianon, that you poison your rivals, that you sleep with your own son. The pamphlets are everywhere: grotesque cartoons, filthy verses, stories of sexual depravity and political treason. You try to ignore them, but they seep into your dreams, your conversations, your sense of self. You turn to desperate measures. You consult fortune-tellers, alchemists, even priests who promise to banish the evil spirits that haunt you. You collect charms, burn incense, recite prayers until your voice is raw. You beg the king to act, to crush the revolution before it is too late, but he is paralyzed by indecision, by fear, by the weight of a crown that no longer fits. The palace morale collapses. The servants are sullen, the guards are restless, the ministers are plotting their own survival. The king's brothers whisper of abdication, of escape, of betrayal. The queen's friends are exiled, imprisoned, or worse. The walls of Versailles, once a symbol of absolute power, are now a cage. You become desperate to conceive again, to produce another heir, to prove your worth. You submit to humiliating medical procedures, to the advice of quacks and charlatans. You drink strange potions, endure painful treatments, allow the doctors to bleed you, to probe you, to declare you fit or unfit for motherhood. The king is no help. His own anxieties have turned him inward, away from you, away from the world. You try to find solace in the familiar. You play music, but the notes are discordant. You paint, but the colors are muddy. You walk in the gardens, but the flowers are wilted, the fountains dry. The Petit Trianon, once your sanctuary, is now a haunted house. Every corner a reminder of what you have lost. The revolution draws closer. The crowds outside the gates grow larger, angrier, more desperate. The king's advisors urge him to flee, to fight, to negotiate. He does nothing. You do everything you can to hold the family together, to protect your children, to maintain some semblance of dignity. But the world is unraveling. and you are unraveling with it. You begin to dream of escape, not just from Versailles, but from yourself. You imagine running away, changing your name, living as a commoner in some distant village, but you know it is impossible. You are the queen, and the queen cannot run. The queen must stand and face the storm, even as it tears her apart. But the real madness is not in your mind. It is in the world outside, in the hatred that has become a religion, in the violence that is coming for you, for your family, for everything you once believed was eternal. And as the palace crumbles, as the revolutionaries break down the gates, you realize that the only thing left to control is how you will face the end. You are Marie Antoinette, and the world you once ruled is gone. Versailles is abandoned, its mirrors shattered, its gardens overgrown. The golden halls are silent, haunted by the ghosts of laughter and music. You are no longer a queen, not even a wife, just a prisoner, a mother clinging to her children as the world outside your cell howls for your blood. The revolution has come, and it is hungry. The king is stripped of his crown, his name, his dignity. He is Louis Capet now, a citizen like any other, awaiting judgment from men who once bowed at his feet. You watch as your husband is led to the scaffold, his face pale but resolute. You hear the blade fall, the crowd roar, and you know that you are next. Your children are torn from your arms. Your son, the Dauphin, is taken by the revolutionaries, locked away, beaten, starved, forced to denounce you as a foreign whore. Your daughter is left to weep in the shadows, her childhood stolen by the hatred of a nation. You are moved from prison to prison, each cell colder and smaller than the last. The guards leer, the women jeer, the men spit at your feet. You are Marie Antoinette, the Austrian, the widow Capet, the enemy of the people. The failures are everywhere. The escape attempt, the flight to Varennes was supposed to save you, to save France, but the plan was doomed from the start. The carriage was too slow, the disguises too thin, the trust in old loyalties misplaced. You were recognized, arrested, dragged back to Paris in disgrace. The people lined the roads, silent and staring, as if watching a funeral procession for a world that had already died. The court is gone. Your friends are dead or in exile. The letters you write are intercepted, censored, used as evidence against you. The pamphlets grow more vicious, the accusations more grotesque. They say you slept with your son, that you plotted with foreign armies, that you bathed in the blood of virgins to keep your youth. The truth no longer matters. The revolution needs a villain, and you are perfect for the role. The country is falling apart. The economy collapses. The streets run with blood. The guillotine becomes the new altar of France. The men who lead the revolution turn on each other, devouring their own in a frenzy of paranoia and betrayal. The wars rage on every border. The famine spreads. The hope that once burned in the hearts of the people is snuffed out by fear and violence. You are powerless. You watch as your world is dismantled piece by piece, as the symbols of your reign are destroyed, as your name becomes a curse. You try to protect your children, to comfort your daughter, to pray for your son, but the walls are too thick, the guards too cruel, the hatred too deep. You are put on trial, but the verdict is decided before you ever speak. The charges are absurd treason, incest, conspiracy, but the sentence is real, death. The courtroom is a theater, the audience hungry for your humiliation. You stand before them, proud and broken, refusing to beg, refusing to weep. You are Marie Antoinette, and you will not give them the satisfaction of seeing you fall. But the real failure is not yours alone. It is the failure of a nation, of a system that could not change, of a people who traded one tyranny for another. The revolution devours its children, and you are just the first course, still watching. Comment royal madness below if you're ready to see how the story ends, when the queen becomes a corpse, and the legend becomes a warning. But the real horror is still ahead, because what waits at the end of this road is not just death, but a ritual of public unmaking, a final humiliation, a lesson written in blood and bone. Centuries later, historians still argue, is she a monster, a martyr, or just a woman born into the wrong story? But in the final act, as the blade falls and the crowd roars, the bitterest irony is already at work. The revolution that destroyed Marie Antoinette would, in time, make her immortal. You are Marie Antoinette, and you have lost everything. Your husband is dead, your son is dying in a filthy cell, your daughter is alone in a world that hates her name. The monarchy is gone, the palace is a ruin, and your body is about to be thrown into an unmarked grave. The people who once cheered your arrival now spit at your feet. The city that once crowned you now drags you through its streets. But the story does not end with your death. The revolutionaries who condemned you will soon turn on each other, their own heads rolling into the same baskets. The guillotine, meant to be the great equalizer, becomes a symbol of terror and regret. The new republic, born in blood, will struggle to find its soul. And then, the twist, the child who survives, your daughter Marie-Therese, the only one of your children to outlive the revolution, is released from prison years later. She is a ghost of her former self, scarred by loss and trauma, but she carries your memory with her. She returns to a France that is no longer hers, haunted by the shadows of the past. The people who once demanded your death now whisper your name with something like sorrow. The nation that killed its queen cannot escape her ghost. In the years that follow, the legend of Marie Antoinette grows. Painters and poets, playwrights and politicians all try to make sense of what happened. Some blame you for the fall of the monarchy, for the debts, the decadence, the hunger. Others see you as a victim, a scapegoat, a woman destroyed by forces beyond her control. The bitterest irony is that the revolution, in trying to erase you, only made you eternal. Your face appears on coins, on chocolates, on perfume bottles. Your story is retold in novels, in films, in the whispered prayers of those who still visit your grave. The same people who once called for your head now call you a saint, a martyr, a symbol of lost innocence. And what of France? The nation that killed its king and queen will spend the next 2 centuries searching for itself, lurching from empire to republic, to monarchy and back again. The dream of liberty, equality, fraternity is stained with blood, and the ghosts of the past are never far away. You, Marie Antoinette, become the ultimate warning, a queen who was hated in life, mourned in death, and remembered forever. The revolution devoured its children, but it could not silence its queen. And so, the story turns. The child who survives, the nation that regrets, the queen who becomes a legend. The lesson is written not in marble, but in memory. Power is fleeting, but suffering endures. The guillotine falls, but the questions remain. Was she a monster, a martyr, or just a woman who never had a chance? The answer, like the revolution itself, is a wound that never quite heals. You are Marie Antoinette, and the end is not a whisper, it is a roar. The cell is cold, the straw mattress damp, the air thick with the stench of sweat, fear, and old blood. You have not slept, you have not eaten. The guards come for you at dawn, their faces blank, their hands rough. They cut your hair, strip you of your last dignity, bind your hands behind your back. The dress they give you is coarse, colorless, a shroud for the living. The city is waiting, the cart is waiting, the mob is waiting. You are led through the corridors of the conciergerie, past the other prisoners who avert their eyes, past the nuns who whisper prayers you can barely hear. The doors open, and the light is blinding. The crowd surges, a living beast, hungry for the spectacle of your death. You climb into the cart, your knees trembling, your heart pounding. The journey is slow, agonizing. The streets are lined with faces, some jeering, some weeping, some simply watching, as if unable to believe that the Queen of France is now just another condemned soul. The city you once ruled is now your executioner. The ride to the Place de la Révolution is a parade of humiliation. Rotten vegetables, spit, curses. You keep your head high, refusing to give them the satisfaction of seeing you break. You remember your children, your husband, the gardens of Versailles. You remember laughter, music, the taste of sugared violets. You remember being loved. The scaffold looms ahead, stark against the grey sky. The executioner helps you down, his hands surprisingly gentle. You step forward, your feet bare, your body shaking. The priest offers you last rites, but you refuse. You have made your peace. You turn to the crowd, searching for a friendly face, a sign that you are not alone. There is none. You speak your last words, an apology to the executioner for stepping on his foot. Even now, you are polite, dignified, a queen to the end. The blade is raised. The world holds its breath. The guillotine falls. Your head is lifted for all to see. The crowd erupts, some in triumph, some in horror, some in silence. Your body is thrown into a common grave, your name erased from the records, your memory meant to rot with the flesh. But the story does not end there. The aftermath is a horror of its own. The grave is shallow, the earth quickly turned. The body, is never truly at rest. Years later, when the monarchy is restored, your remains are exhumed, identified by the jawbone, the teeth, the fragments of silk. Your head and body are reunited, placed in a royal tomb, but the peace is uneasy. The city remembers, the walls remember. The blood on the stones is never fully washed away. There are rumors, always rumors. Some say your heart was cut out and preserved in a jar, hidden in a church, worshipped by royalists as a relic. Some say your ghost haunts the corridors of Versailles, weeping for the children you lost, the life you never chose. Some say the nuns who buried you heard your voice in the night, whispering prayers for forgiveness, for peace, for an end to the suffering. The revolutionaries who killed you are themselves consumed by the terror they unleashed. The guillotine claims them one by one. Robespierre, Danton, the men who signed your death warrant. The city that demanded your blood now drowns in its own. The Place de la Révolution is renamed, the scaffold dismantled. The memory of your death a wound that never heals. Your daughter survives, but she is a shadow, a living reminder of all that was lost. The monarchy returns, but it is never the same. The people who once cheered your death now whisper your name with regret, with sorrow, with a longing for a past that can never be reclaimed. And so you linger not as a queen, not as a villain, but as a ghost, a warning, a question that Paris can never answer. Was it justice, or was it murder? Was it fate, or was it madness? Was it the end, or just another beginning? The city sleeps, but you do not. The bells toll, but you are not at rest. The revolution is over, but the story is not. Centuries have passed since the blade fell, since the crowd roared, since the queen's head was lifted for all to see. But the story of Marie Antoinette refuses to die. It lingers in the stones of Paris, in the shadows of Versailles, in the uneasy dreams of a nation that once believed it could cut away its pain with a single stroke. What do we learn from a life like hers? From a world that could turn a girl into a queen into a monster, and a monster into a martyr. The lesson is not simple, and it is not kind. Marie Antoinette was not born to be hated. She was not born to be a symbol. She was a child, a daughter, a wife, a mother shaped by forces she could never control. She inherited a world built on secrets and lies, on bloodlines and bargains, on the desperate hope that power could protect you from the consequences of your own history. But power is a poison, and trauma is an inheritance. The palace that raised her was a gilded cage, and the revolution that destroyed her was a mirror held up to the face of a nation that could not bear to look at itself. The tragedy of Marie Antoinette is not just her death, but the way her story became a vessel for the fears and failures of an entire people. The hunger, the rage, the shame of a country that had been betrayed by its own kings, all of it poured into the image of a foreign queen, a woman who never truly belonged. She became the scapegoat, the lightning rod, the sacrifice on the altar of change. But the revolution did not bring peace. The blade did not bring justice. The ghosts of the past were not exorcised, they were multiplied. The men who killed the queen were themselves killed in turn. The dream of liberty, equality, fraternity was stained with blood, and the wounds of the old regime became the scars of the new. Still watching? Comment royal madness below if you made it to the end, because the real madness is not in the mind of a queen, but in the heart of a nation that believes it can escape its own history by destroying the people who remind it of what it cannot change. So the next time you hear the name Marie Antoinette, remember, she was not just a queen, not just a victim, not just a villain. She was a warning, a question, a ghost that still walks the streets of Paris, asking us what we are willing to do to be free, and what we are willing to become in the process. History is not just what we remember, it is what we refuse to face. Thank you for watching. If this story haunted you, like and subscribe for more true tales from the shadows of power. And never forget, the past is never really dead. It's just waiting for someone to open the door.